Many Jews and Christians today possess the spirit of Jacob Frank. Now, let me explain myself. This man was a cult leader back in the 18th and 19th centuries. He believed that by doing away with all laws, statutes, and commandments, he would get closer to Elohim, and that he would reign in the coming of the Messianic age. He even believed that promiscuous relationships would help aid with this, and that having allegedly an incestuous relationship with his daughter as well would help with this. There were rumors that people in his circle were doing these things. Just give him a search. Even on Wikipedia, you will find this. Now, in the camp of Christianity, they do believe that the laws, statutes, and ordinances of the scriptures are done away with. Jacob Frank threw out Torah and the Tanakh, and he was looked down on by the Jews of his day because he threw out the kashrut. So these would be the Jewish dietary laws on top of the Torah. So basically, they would include the rabbinic blessing and putting other moral fences around what you should eat or not eat regarding food. Now, I don't go as far as that belief. I just believe in what the scriptures say directly. Now, Jacob Frank was also into Kabbalah. The problem in the camp of Judaism is that sometimes they will prioritize texts outside of the Tanakh for establishing doctrine rather than the Tanakh itself. And Yahweh commands all men, man and woman, to go back to the Tanakh. Now, one thing that you'll find interesting is this. So here's what Wikipedia says. It says tikkun, which in the Judaic faith refers to repairing the world or bringing back social justice, which if we read the Brit Hadashah, it's the Messiah that's supposed to do that. It's very clear. It says also means the esoteric sifting or clarification of concealed divine sparks exiled in physical creation. This new paradigm in Kabbalah replaced the previous linear description of descent by Moses ben Jacob Cordovero with a dynamic process of spiritual enclothement where higher souls invest inwardly in lower vessels. You know, what's interesting is Isaiah chapter 50 and verse 10 says, "Who among you fears Yahweh? Who obeys the voice of his servant?" Which, of course, is the Messiah, if you're interpreting the Tanakh correctly. "Who walks in darkness and has no light? Let him trust in the name of Yahweh and rely upon his Elohim." Now, the next verse says this, "Look, all you who kindle a fire," sounds like Yahweh rebuking people, "who encircle yourselves with sparks." Okay, so if you're a Kabbalistic rabbi or a Kabbalistic Christian or a Kabbalistic Jew, he's talking directly to you. Yahweh was speaking directly with Judah as they were concerned with their idolatry and were ignoring the Tanakh when he was saying this. He says, "Walk in the light of your life, and in the sparks you have kindled. This you shall have from my hand, you shall lie down in torment." So if you're relying on mysticism, quote unquote, returning divine sparks of light to their source and social justice initiatives, rather than the Messiah, the servant of Yahweh, to restore justice to the world, then you are operating in the wrong. Yahweh not only rebukes those in Judaism, he even speaks out against those in Ephraim who believe that they are grafted into the nation, but they don't have to keep all the commandments, or they live not only in a Christianity kind of a spirit, but in a lukewarm messianic spirit. He says in Isaiah or Yeshayahu chapter 28, verses 18 through 20, "Your covenant with death, or your mortgage, will be annulled. Your agreement with the realm of the dead will not stand. When the overwhelming scourge sweeps by, you will be beaten down by it. As often as it comes, it will carry you away. Morning after morning, by day and by night, it will sweep through." The understanding of this message will bring sheer terror. The bed is too short to stretch out on, the blanket too narrow to wrap around you. So Yahweh is saying that you're not going to be able to find protection from this. Now, for confirmation of what I just said, you look up in Google, mortgage means death pledge. It says, yes, the word mortgage literally means death pledge in Old French. So mort means death. You know, when we say words like mortality or mortal, we're referring to someone that can die or someone dying. It says it's a combination of mort and gudge, as I just said. This term reflects the idea that the pledge dies when the debt is paid off or the property is forfeited. It's also a covenant with death in the sense that you have to be mindful of what you do with your finances and all your little moves over a 30-year period. Now, in this Medium article, there were two very interesting things that I found. One being that Kabbalah borrows a lot of tradition from Chaldean Babylonian numerology and sorcery, because the numbers hold symbolic power and can guide your spiritual growth. So it's not Yahweh that's establishing your steps, it's this number magic. The article highlights as well that Chaldean and Kabbalistic traditions are connected by universal truths. Therefore, this is a form of syncretism, not something that Yahweh approves. So in the Brit Hadashah, we read a very controversial verse from Yeshua where he says, "Behold, I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan bow down before you, and they will know that you have loved me." Now, many people gloss over this verse. It's not a very popular one to talk about, and rightfully so. What is Yeshua talking about when he says synagogue of Satan? Some people say it's a group of imposter Jews. There are some people who say it's not. My take is that it's a group of antinomian Jews, people who claim to be part of the Yehudim, but refuse to keep the laws, statutes, and commandments of Yahweh. Now, I do believe a portion of the people who are currently keeping the Torah and the Tanakh but don't see Yeshua as the Messiah will come to repentance. They will make teshuvah. They will turn back to our Creator and acknowledge His servant. But there are plenty of others who do not keep the laws, statutes, and commandments. They may be Gnostics, and even though they know all these things, they're not doing them, and then they won't acknowledge Yeshua. And some of those people are the types of people that are being described in the controversial Revelation passages. It has to be stated. I'm not going to lay off on it. This channel is not built on anti-Semitism in any way, shape, or form, because that's the accusation that gets thrown at people right after. Anti-Semite refers to anti-Shem, meaning you're anti-Shemite. First of all, this channel is very pro-Israelite. We're all about bringing people back to the Torah and the Tanakh. We're all about bringing people back to the truth. We're all about elevating the law of Moses in Christianity. That's the opposite of anti-Shemite. Now, one common argument from Judahites or Black Hebrew Israelites is that, well, the New Testament, the Brit Hadashah, was written in Greek. Now, pardon me, I may have misspoken previously and said it was written in Hebrew. I think I was watching some of my videos the other day and going through and saw that, and I was like, whoops, I misspoke. That was a mistake. I would have meant to say it was written in Greek. I was probably talking in that video about how the Brit Hadashah, the New Testament, is really stuffed with Hebrew idioms that somebody who is in Judaism would be able to pry open and understand, and that it's one of the most pro-Jew books that they could ever read, even though it was written in a different language than Hebrew. So in Psalm, or Tehillim, chapter 105 and verse 1, we see, "Give praise to Yahweh," this is David, "proclaim his name, make known among the nations what he has done." Well, brothers, sisters, how is he going to make his name known among the nations unless he uses humans to write down these events and even how to apply these scriptural principles in a language that is more universal? The Brit Hadashah was written in Koine Greek because it was written in a Greco-Roman setting. It was supposed to target a broader audience, including the Hellenized Jews or Yehudim of the diaspora. Yahweh told the prophet Joel that he would pour out his spirit upon all people. And what better way to spread the original religion that was given on Sinai than to do so in a universal language? May Yahweh bless you and keep you. Shalom.